Okay, it's all yours.
Thank you again, Dr. Conte. Thank you, our audience. While we await Dr. Jallo to join us, we're gonna go ahead and start this program here. Um, um, like always, this is another Sunday, and we are back here again. Again, our line is 336-708-2682. If you'd like to make a comment, you can call that number, or you can go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel and make a comment or ask us questions, or you can join by the video link or by phone if you need to say something. Um, Today we're going to look at the swearing in of President Barrow that took place on the 19th. I believe it was a Wednesday of this month, following the December 4th presidential elections in the Gambia. We also would like to look at the KMC issue. We all know that Mayor Bensouda met the president, President Barrow, sometime last week concerning the investigations that are ongoing into the KMC. We will also briefly look at what I call the feature article, actually. It's an interview by Dr. Chana Omar Barrow. Omar Bari interviewed the uh, Pan African Writers Association chairperson, Secretary General. So we will look briefly at that also in the second segment of this program today. Dr. Conte, I want to start with the swearing in of President Barrow on Wednesday.
Okay.
It is quite interesting that Barrow swore in last Tuesday. He was sworn in by the Attorney General, not the Attorney General, Chief Justice Jallo, Hassan B. Jallo. The oath of office, Barrow was sworn in. There were three swearing ins together. One was the swearing in for the oath of. There was the oath of office. There were three oaths actually. Let me put it that way. He took the oath of office, oath of allegiance, and the oath of secrecy. That was quite interesting to me, and I thought it was pretty much a legacy of the Jammeh era. I am not sure. I never heard about that oath of office, oath of allegiance, and oath of secrecy during Jawara's time. I could be wrong, but I never heard about that. The only time I started hearing about it is the earliest part of Jammeh's rule, when that three different swearing-ins became introduced. Jammeh, one can argue, was not only concerned about one's oath to the office one holds, but also one's allegiance to him as president, and also one's oath to keep secrecy. Um, it is quite interesting to me that we still practice that when actually the requirement of the Constitution was only to hold and defend the Constitution. It did not require you to be secretive of government operations, and it does not require you to be to owe allegiance to the president. Of course, the president needs people who are kind of loyal and supportive of his programs and his vision of the country. But allegiance and secrecy are quite still problematic to some extent. But nonetheless, Barrow swore to all of these. In the US, like in the Gambia, the constitution requires you to swear to uphold and defend the country. In the US, the requirement is to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution. That's all you are required to do. But there are a number of things that are still quite interesting that one may want to talk about. The other issue that interests me particularly is that Barrow was sworn in using the Holy Quran, which is the tradition in the Gambia, and it is the tradition. But for the sake of commentary, I wanted to say that Barrow's swearing into the Holy Quran has no religious effect, only has a legal effect, legal consequence, no religious consequence to it. Matter of fact, I don't think he needed to swear to the Quran or the Bible. No president is required to do that. All you need to do is to swear to practically anything. The Constitution can be used in place of the Quran or the Bible. There's only a legal consequence to that, but no religious effect at all. And many people misunderstand this. I remember the TRRC when Imam Fadi was called to take an oath, using the Holy Quran. He hesitated. He didn't want to, and many people were surprised that why he didn't want to swear to the Holy Quran to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, But really, there's no legal requirement for him to swear to the Quran. He could have sworn, take his oath using anything or nothing at all. The consequence is just perjury. It has no religious effect at all. So I just wanted to, for the sake of commentary, I'm not against this, but I just wanted to clarify that I do not think this is a long legacy of British legal practice, but there's no real religious effect to that at all. It is also interesting to me. I'm just making commentaries here. There are things that kind of interested me when I watched the whole thing. The line of the lawyers and the judges also quite interesting in their robes, black robes, and their wigs, which also points to the history of legal practice. Dr. Peters once compared, I think it was in his book, The Second Round, he compared the lawyer's wig or the judge's wig to the doctor's stethoscope. In the US, judges and lawyers don't wear wigs, but in the Gambia and in many of the British jurisdictions, the wig is a very common practice. I think it just adds to the solemnity and kind of the supremacy of the law, as well as the robe, the black robes. But other than that, you hardly see U.S. lawyers in robes like that. Judges still do, and they almost never wear wigs. But lawyers go to court in just suits and stuff like that. I don't think they wear robes at all. So that's quite interesting also to observe as well. Dr. Conte, we also saw 7 West African presidents who attended the swearing in of President Barrow. Senegal's Macky Sall was there, Guinea-Bissau's Barrow was there, Liberia's George Weah was there, Sierra Leone's Madabio was there, Togo's Nyasimbe was there, and Mauritania's president was there also. Ghana's president, I think Mauritania's president was Gassan. And then Ghana's president was there as well. Nigeria's Buhari was there. So it was pretty well attended by West African heads of state. It is interesting to note, however, that there are some that did not attend. And Very conspicuous of those are Guinea-Conakry and Mali. Both countries are on the upheavals right now, I would say. I think actually Guinea-Conakry is facing ECOWAS economic and travel ban right now, sanctions right now for the military coup that occurred there recently. Mali is also under a military situation and facing a rebellion there. So Mali and Guinea are both very unstable and they're very unpopular regimes there, military regimes that are facing international backlash for the political situation there. So those two countries were very absent conspicuously. But Barrow had some very important guests there. Macky Sall, particularly, next to Senegal, is very important to Gambia's political development. Macky and Barrow are pretty good friends, I can say. Well attended. The event was, I think it was the master of ceremony, I think, was Malik Jones. Am I right? I wasn't sure, but I think by his voice, I thought it was Malik Jones. Jones is a veteran journalist from the era of Sonjai and Boramboj, I believe. So he was the co-master of ceremony. Barrow also talked about in his speech, he talked about he talked very well about his development project, his legacy of rule of law and good governance. And he projected that he will continue on his infrastructural development programs. And rule of law will be a thing to continue in the country. We will try to unite the country. Many people criticize him for not talking about corruption. Corruption is something that is very concerning to the Gambian. The criticism is that Barrow did not say a word about what he's going to do about corruption, even though it is understood that he has pushed legislation to deal with corruption, to pass laws that will tackle corruption in the country. But many listeners, many Gambians are disappointed that in his inauguration speech, he didn't say a word about this matter at all. Dr. Conte, these are some of the highlights I wanted to say about the president's inauguration. Also, it is argued that it is said that the opposition were not invited. They did not attend the event because they were not invited. I'm not sure about that, but it is clear that the opposition is by and large missing at the inauguration. So I don't know what went wrong somewhere, but probably they were not invited. But I don't think any of them attended the event. Of course, APRC was there, which was they had an alliance with Barrow. But UDP, GDC, DOI, all the major opposition parties were not there. I understand it's Dr. Ismail Sise from CA and Mike Ahmed Fadi from GNC both attended. But these are parties that did not take part. So the argument still remains that Barrow probably, the organizers probably did not invite the opposition to the inauguration. I know the inauguration is probably not a national event. It is an NP. Well, it probably can qualify as a national event because it's a swearing in of the president of everybody. But it is what it is. I would one can say, but the opposition was missing a little bit. Dr. Koda, what do you think of this?
Well, thank you for allowing me. I have been looking for the infrastructure expenses or expenditure. And the president talks about his legacy of continuing infrastructural development. Uh, my biggest concern is that capital constructions are taking place, but agriculture is falling behind. And if we continue to do that, if one has to make a comparison since the president took office in 2017, and I want to make clarification because I was disappointed during our conversation. A spokesperson or an advisor to the president advocating, that the president should select ministers who are loyal to him.
Right.
And I found that to be very frightening in a sense, that advisors are supposed to look at the truth, and based on their profession, they're not supposed to compromise anything dealing with whether it is loyalty or what is been said in their profession. And I have no problem with infrastructural development, but what is going on in the Gambia right now is that if we take precedence on capital improvements and don't look at agriculture as a cause of concern, and don't also pay attention to corruption, regardless of what the president is trying to do, even if the loyalists are there maybe to protect their own needs. So no leadership in leadership style, you cannot have a leader who expects uh, everyone to agree with him. You don't make you wouldn't be a good leader or an effective leader if the people who report to you agree on everything that you promulgate. There will have to be some people who are gonna disagree with you, because when I look at the infrastructural development and I see variation in terms of what has been allocated to agriculture. So even if you support the president, even if you are loyal to the president, when you see mismatch in terms of how the percentage of the total revenue that is awarded to infrastructural development, and agriculture is sitting at less than $400 million dollars of our domestic revenue. That should concern everyone. Okay, and now if you see that commodity prices are going up, the president won't feel the pinch because he's subsidized by taxpayers. But you, as a minister, your family members may have to go to the store to buy stuff, and they're going to be affected. So if you are so loyal to the president and you see that the impact is affecting you, so are you saying that you shouldn't say anything to the president? I'm also concerned about another area, which is the increase in salaries of government civil servants. I looked at the high-low method in managerial accounting, and I noticed that the lower-ranking people, employees of the government, from grades 1 to grade 4, you look at their percentage increase compared to grade 10. Grade 10 has 436% increase, and if you use the weighted average of that, it's 256%. So are you telling me that if you are loyal to the president and you see disparity in the pay increase, you're not going to say anything? Because the president did not come with those numbers. The people, the civil servants, the permanent secretaries, the deputy permanent secretaries were the ones who came up with these numbers. They presented it to the president. So if you sit down with the president, are you not going to say, Mr. President, this is frightening, because we see discrimination in terms of salary increases. Those at the lower bottom, this the increase is regressive. So people who are higher are the ones who are benefiting, and the ones that are at the lower end are not benefiting. So if you are a minister, because you are loyal to the president, are you not going to say something? And then he tried to make some bogus remarks. No, listen, we all know each other. We all know each other. This is something that we all have to. I'm really disappointed about this advisor. Most of the people who went back to Gambia. I hate to say this. They cannot compete with most of us here in America. They cannot compete. They could not compete with most of us here in America, and that's why they went back. They went back home. And for me, I don't care about any cabinet position because I know my value system will not agree with them. I'm not going to live here in America for all these years, go home and steal money from the poor people. I just cannot do it. I mean, someone told me the other day they went to one of the NPP supporters. This person built a mansion in Gunjur in less than a year. So no, come on, let's be realistic here. We all were part of the opposition. And I think we'll be doing the president a favor by trying to be adamant and to be vocal to say that they are destroying your dynasty. These people are only there for their own selfish needs. And we need to have a dialogue with the president before he decides to have his cabinet and his groups of advisors. Because the current advisors that he has over there, they are only there for their own selfish needs. Listen, we have information on some of the advisors who have paid their mortgages here in America. We have information on the same advisors who went out and bought another house, or who went out and bought other houses. Is this the Gambia that we want? He said, we fought against UDP because we felt that most of the 2%ers were tribalized in politics. So we supported NPP because we felt that looking at NPP, when it comes to tribalism, NPP may be a political party that we can coexist. But I am not going to sit silent and see people who pretend to be supporting the president only there for their own selfish needs. We have to call it. I'm not going to call names. Look at the just recent information that came out of GAM Petroleum. Massive fraud. So nobody can say anything. So in the Gambia, they glorify you when you steal. How many advisors were at the president's office who were adamant they could not bribe them, and those people were transferred to other places, maybe to to embassies. You had permanent secretaries who very qualified to run several ministries. What did they do? They transported them to other embassies. So, I mean, come on. These people are living beyond the means of their own support. Because if you look at the average advisor of at the State House, they don't even make $500,000 a year. How can a cook build a story building within the duration that they've been hired at the State House? And we cannot point them out. So when you criticize them, they say, oh, the president, this person is against your agenda. That's nonsense. And I think what's it called? The branch, the standard paper, I think we need to engage the individual who is responsible for the Sunday branch to say that if you invite them, invite other people in diaspora who can counter them. You got a very nice young man who they could not corrupt, was working at the State House. What did they do to him? They transferred him to the embassy in South Africa. So I will continue to fight corruption. I don't need any cabinet position with them. I don't need any adversarial. I don't want to be any advisor for them because these people are corrupt. So the president should try to listen to us. They are destroying his legacy. I mean, come on. It's a rat race. Get what you can because the president is soft. But when he starts locking people up in jail, let them stay there rot for a long time, they will know that he means business. But as long as he's saying nothing about corruption, they will continue to steal from the poor. This is something that we have to stand up and fight against. I don't need any job from them. I support NPP, and up to this day I do. But I will not compromise my principles to live here in the United States for umpteen years, go to Gambia and steal from the poor. This is nonsense, man. You know, I mean, they are so selfish. I don't understand where this individual got this information to say that some of the advisors or the secretaries who are working in the United States went to prison. Can you tell me one? So, Mr. Cham, we need to reach out to him to say, while you open a window for engagement, you should also engage Gambians who are in diaspora. But at the end of the day, the people who could not compete with us here in the United States, they are the ones who ran to Gambia to get positions with Barrow administration. And they are out there to steal as much as they can, because all they are doing is singing to him. And the president should now begin to realize that, you know, I mean, let's talk about transparency. This is nonsense. But this really pisses me off when I see that people that we know who were nothing here in this country to go out there in the Gambia and milk, and they are still milking the Gambian people. We say UDP was a tribalist political party. But we are saying that, Barrow, most of your advisors are corrupt. They are stealing from the Gambian people, benefiting themselves here. When we talk about Gambians, we talked about other ministers going to Senegal to build houses. Yes, you have advisors who have houses here. They paid off their mortgage. And we have to stand up and, I'm not going to name names. They all know themselves. So the president taking oath of office, that's his right. You know, I looked, I didn't see anything in the Constitution that says what he has to do. But again, we have the same. What secrecy do you have to swear on? If you swear on secrecy, then you are violating transparency. What is so secret about Gambia that people cannot know? Some of us are fortunate to be here in this country, whereby we don't have we can have 3 square meals, and if you feel like sending money to your family members, you can. But even that one has to stop, because our people have to take responsibility to feed themselves. We cannot, because I mean, someone sent me something. Every small little tailor Senegalese, even spare parts Nigerians. So what are we doing in our country? And when we look at the, you know, what I'm saying, I don't have anything else to add about the president's oath of office, because that's his right. But for me, what I don't understand here, we are all Gambians, and all of us are here. And you remember last night when I told you about the monkey climbing up a tree? That's what I think we are.
Right. Yeah.
And they call us Malangs.
Yeah.
When you are in the Gambia, you want to start something, everything runs good. But the sooner you leave to go back to where you reside, everything falls apart. And then some of them are sitting down here there to wait for you to die so that they can take your property. So this is something that we, you know, come on. Keba, can you believe that we've been here in this country for so long? Anyone who has lived in America for 20 years, why are you going to Gambia and steal from the poor?
No need.
Why are you going to Gambia to steal from the poor? And that's what they are doing. And for those who want to be righteous, to say, I am not going to do it, they will tell Barrow, this guy is against your agenda. I wish I meet President Barrow. That's what I'm going to tell him. No compromise on that. If you cannot have a supporter who can look at you in the eye and say, the president, they are misleading you. Because I'm not going to go to the State House when I go to visit the Gambia. No, I'm not going to. Because anytime you go there, if you meet with them, oh, another dogo, you know. You call them, oh, Ayun Kumandile, he's interested. Can you believe someone sent me a picture on Facebook about a dinner that they were having at someone who was a student of mine? Do I care about what they eat over in the Gambia? Because I'm not interested. I don't want anything. But there are righteous Gambians, some ministers out there. I will name them. I do communicate with some of them, and they are afraid to speak. At the end of the day, the Gambian school children, they leave home to go to school hungry. During school, hungry. They leave to go back home, they are hungry. They go to bed, they are hungry. And yet still you have these people, what they did not have in America, what they didn't have in Europe, they are out there still taking land, buying land. They are out there building these story buildings, paying up their mortgages here in America and other places. My engagement, my meeting with the president, if I ever, because I'm not going to go to the State House, it's no point. Because you have people out there who are so selfish. They are only looking for their own needs. The president will have to. For me, I have no interest. This is so disappointing. But I think the venue that we should try to vent our frustration will be through the branch. Let the gentleman also invite some of us to talk about our feelings. People who were nothing here in this country, only to run to Gambia and start stealing from the poor. I stop right there.
Thank you, Dr. Conte. Thank you very much. Just two quick comments. Absolutely very true. And I did watch The Branch yesterday morning by Lamin Charm. It's one of my favorite programs on Kerfatu. It is quite interesting that actually Lamin Charm's guest yesterday was Sehun Barrow. And it is quite interesting to me that Barrow made an argument yesterday that the president is going to appoint people who are loyal to him, who support his agenda, who support his vision for the country, rather than so-called technocrats. Technocrats who are invariably more interested in their portfolio, in their credentials, than the interests of the country. They are seeking to build their portfolios, build their credentials, so that when they are fired or when something happens, they go and take appointments in the. They go and take international appointments in the UN, in the AU, in the World Bank, in African Development Bank, and stuff like that. It is quite true that the president should look for people who are supportive of his agenda, people who are quite loyal to him. But qualifications do matter, and I think the president should, frankly speaking, look for competent people, people who are competent, people who are who have know-how, people who can deliver, people who can do something for the country. Pure loyalty and no skills or no experience is not going to help the Gambia. So it is quite interesting that Barrow, and I mean Sehun Barrow, who was a prominent activist in the struggle against dictatorship in the Gambia, would make a statement like that. I can see where he's coming from, but there's a lot of problems with what he was saying. And it kind of, everything these advisors to the president say is kind of a window into the thinking of the White House, in the State House, in the Gambia. So I think Barrow's statement is kind of opens the way to see what the thinking is in the among the people who surround the president. So Barrow needs to be really, really very careful, and I think he needs to really overhaul the people surrounding him as so-called advisors. A lot of these people, one can argue, that have very little to offer to the country. He needs to really think hard about who he gets advice from. People who have know-how, people who have real skills and experience in government and in economy. I would really advise him to set up an economic council instead, set up a group of competent economists and engineers, around him who will really advise him on the economy and on how to reconstruct the country, rather than these so-called advisors. I don't know what their value is to the Gambian people, and there need to be some transparency about how much these people are paid, and vis-a-vis what their real value is to the country. So I think that's something that really Barrow needs to look at pretty carefully. And that would lead me to my second comment, which is on the issue of corruption. Corruption is it's difficult to really accuse people of corruption, but the perception of corruption in the Gambia is very, very high. Most Gambians believe that there's widespread corruption in the country. And it's like what Ghanaians used to say, that Nkrumah has killed an elephant, right? So everybody is on a rush to loot the country. Barrow's coming, I have said before that usually when in a post-dictatorial regime, or in a post-civil war regime, corruption tends to be very rife because people, let me be more direct here. On the Jame, with the NIA around, everybody was scared of, who is behind them, who is watching. So everybody was cautious because Jame would arrest you and throw you in mile 2 without warning. And now that threat is gone, everybody is emboldened to do pretty much whatever they want. So Barrow needs to be very aware of this, that in a post-dictatorial regime, like the one he leads now, a lot of people are emboldened to fleece the country. So he has to be very, very tough on the issue of corruption. I know he's pushing legislation to deal with corruption, but I think that legislation too the National Assembly is working on it, but they still need to be very cautious, because I think, in my view, Dr. Conte, the worst mistake Gambia will do is to set up a corruption commission led by an individual. It will be tragic. It never worked in any country. It did not work in South Africa. It did not work in Nigeria. It did not work in any country that tried it. Instead, what happens is those people have become co-opted into the corruption cycle. They become part and parcel of abetting and aiding and covering up corruption. So many of those corruption commissions are very, very controversial. None of them succeeded well. So I think the best approach Gambia can do, in my view, to have stiff legislation with stiff penalties for corrupt practices, and open a corruption division in the NIA. The NIA should identify corruption, probably take action against it. And how do they do this? Bring back I will say this again, bring back some of the NIA's powers from the Jammeh's regime to strictly in the matter of corruption. Not in every aspect, but where corruption is concerned, the NIA should assume their Jammeh era powers to deal with it. I think this is the only way that corruption can be curtailed in the Gambia. Thank you, Dr. Conte. Do you have anything to say on that before?
Oh yeah, because you were talking about, you don't know how much these people get paid. So I visited the manpower budget of 2021, and let me share this with our listeners for them to see. So please allow me. So this is let me make this slightly bigger so that folks can see. Of course, can you see that from your answer?
Yes.
You notice that the president's salary is $3,060,000 a year. The special advisors, they have four of them, and their salary is 1.9 billion. 1.9 million, 1.9 million. Okay, so almost $500,000 is each a year. The two deputy advisors, their salary is 1 million. So which means that each of them gets about $500,000 a year. So the chief of staff has a salary of almost $444,000 a year. So this is what we have, and the salaries of the permanent secretary, deputy permanent secretary, the personal aide to the president. This is what we have. So you can make an argument to say that I'm not selecting anyone. That someone who makes salary in the range of $500,000 a year, how were they able to pay their mortgage in America? How were they able to buy another property in the United States? And how are they able to build another house in the Gambia? Because if you do forensic accounting on them, or you just rationalize, you can just say, well, that's highly unlikely. So which means that all of them are living beyond the means of their own support. And these are the people who are telling the president that someone within, from the president down, these are the ones who are telling the president that these folks are against your agenda.
Absolutely.
So this is what we have in our country. So when I think about the gentleman, I'm not going to call his name, who is out there in South Africa, who could not be corrupt. And they misled the president by telling him that the gentleman doesn't have, is not supporting the president's agenda. And several other people who were removed from the president's office, only to find themselves either sitting at home or they're at other embassies as staff. This is what we continue to have. So these are numbers that the president should say. Somebody who you are paying $500,000, less than $1 million a year, how were they able to build a house and complete it? Tell me where the money came from. So so these are things we have in our country, and we will continue to have them. And for few of us who are willing to speak up, we should. But anyone who is very ethical, they don't want you to be around them. So that's all I have to say, my friend.
Thank you, Dr. Conte. We'll take a break. We'll come back at 2:25 for the second segment of this program.
Okay, thank you. So let me.
Dr. Conte.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Do you want to play music meanwhile, or actually, Dalibar played very nice music at the inauguration. Do you have it?
No, I don't have it. You can just play it if you want to.
All right, I think I have a clip of it. Let me see if I can play it from my phone.
Yeah, in the interim, you can play it, and while yes.
Let's see here.
Well, this is what we have in our country.
Absolutely.
The level of corruption, is very sad to the average citizen who doesn't have the means.
Is it coming up clear?
Yeah, but when I hear Cairo, I don't know what Cairo is in Gambia, because the Cairo is only for the people who are stealing from us.
I know.
So what we're going to try to do is to get out here and then come back later on, right?
Yeah.
So part 2 will be coming soon, correct? At
Yes.
the time that we indicated, which should be about
in about 7 minutes.
Okay, so let me get out of here. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm gonna post this on Facebook, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.